if you if you are married to a lovely, kind person who is also a little bit useless at helping in the home and helping with the kids, this video is for you. My name is Elizabeth from the Supermom Detox. It is my mission to help moms create a life filled with joy and contentment, with less overwhelm and more connection to their kids, connection to their husbands, but also connection to themselves. So why how to train your husband? I wrote a guide on this exact topic, actually because my husband suggested it. I won't talk you through the whole thing, but I will give you some kind of highlights of this guide. And really, I think the reason he suggested it is, my husband falls into that category. He's an incredibly caring, incredibly kind person, but he found, being a dad and helping, I keep saying helping. It's not helping, is it? It's just being a parent, but he found that hard. He didn't know how to, and it's taken a lot of conversations and it's taken a lot of thought to get us both to a place. So that is why I wrote it. And I'm speaking to moms, speaking to clients, speaking to friends, it seems to be quite a universal thing. So here we are, talking about how to train your husband. The first thing I wanted to talk to you about actually is overwhelm. Now, I do hear a lot from mothers saying, I'm so overwhelmed, I've got so much to do. And the thing is, I do think, obviously, we do have a lot to do. Moms are so busy, and it doesn't really matter whether you're working part-time, working full-time. Yeah, it doesn't really matter if you're working part-time or full-time or you're a stay-at-home mom. I hear it from everyone. That feeling of overwhelm is just ever present. And the thing is, I think it is that you've got too much to do, but also you've just got too much going on in your brain. There are just too many things that you are looking after, that you're doing, that you're thinking about all of the time. And I think as moms, we're just doing and thinking about too much. And this is where your husband comes in. This is where your partner comes in. This is where help needs to come in. Now, when we talk about mental load, we can think about, like I say, all of the things you might be doing. And when it comes to your husband doing some of these things, there's a few different parts to it. So your husband might say, well, I'm taking little Freya to football, and that's great. But actually, that's only one part of it. So when it comes to anything that happens, there are three parts to it. There's the conceptualizing, there's the planning, and then there's the executing. Now, with football, you might think, oh, my little girl, Freya, she might like to play football. So you start thinking about, well, first of all, you're thinking like, oh, what activities does she like? And you're kind of watching her play and you see, oh, she seems to be playing football. That's my neighbor's dog. We have a communal garden, so she's out in the garden. Sorry for the interruptions. So you're watching your daughter and you think, oh, she likes football. She plays football with her friends. A few of her friends play football. Maybe this is something they could do together. And then you start asking around all of the other mums, when do their kids play football? And you think, okay, well, Saturday morning, all of her friends play, so this is the good time for her to play. And then you think, okay, well, obviously you contact the coach and you sign up to the WhatsApp group and you pay the fees for it and you go and buy the kit and then you launder the kit and then you make the snacks and then you lay out the kit in the morning and then you add the snacks to the bag. And so, yes, your husband is taking Freya to football, but he's not really owning it, is he? You're still doing an incredible amount of stuff with regards to football. And this is where this whole three-part thing I think is quite helpful when you start thinking about, like when you're talking to your husband about this, you can say, yes, you're owning part of the execution. You are taking Freya to football and, that's great. But actually, there are other parts to this. And actually, even part of the execution is getting the kit ready and getting the snacks ready. And you're still doing that. You're the one who's doing it, not your partner. So that's something you can make him aware of and say, actually, if you're going to be executing football, I would like you to take that out of my brain, and literally I'm going to hand it to you. And also give him, sign him up to the WhatsApp group, give him the bank details for the coach, tell him where to buy the kit. You've still got it in your brain. I think this is the thing. It's not really about the doing. It's not really about taking the kid to football. The taking the football is great, but actually you still have the mental load of it. And I think, as I said before, I think that is one of the key problems. Our brains are just too full of things that we have to do, of things that we're constantly thinking about, constantly scanning, constantly doing. So it's about reducing that. So when you start to think about this, I recommend that you try and think of something you can abdicate completely from beginning to end. So what does that look like? Well, for example, so first of all, choose something that you don't really mind if it's done differently. So it could be football. It could be that your husband takes that over. You give him the login codes for the WhatsApp. You let him wash the kit. You let him sort out the snacks. Or it could be something else. So, I think, a lot of men do the shopping, but a lot of women still do the meal planning and the shopping list. It could be school shirts. So one of the clients I coached, she really hated the school shirts. Hated them with a passion. And she wanted to iron them. She wanted their kids to look really neat, and that was important to her. But she hated ironing the shirts, hated getting them ready, and she felt really kind of unappreciated doing them. And I'm sure you know that feeling well. I certainly do. So I said to her, okay, could you abdicate the shirts? Is this something that you could hand over? Now, her kids weren't old enough yet to handle them themselves, but could your husband do them? And he did end up doing the shirts. But, and this is really important, if you're going to abdicate something and you're going to hand it over completely, you have to be okay with it being done differently. And that might involve a conversation. So, as I said, for her, she wanted the school shirts to be ironed. Her husband didn't. And I said to her, if you're going to hand it over, you have to be okay with it being done differently. But, that's a question you have to ask yourself. So, but it's also a conversation to be had. So she and her husband, they sat down and they talked about it. And she said, I think the school shirts should be ironed. And he said, well, I get that, but actually if you want me to do them, you have to let me do them the way that I think they should be done. And we live in Scotland. The kids wear jumpers pretty much all year round anyway, so you can't even really see whether the shirts are ironed. This was his argument. So he said, I don't think it's important. I don't think it's important that they're ironed. I think it's important that they're clean and accessible, but I don't think it's important that they're ironed. And it was hard for her to kind of accept that and to let it go, but she did. And she had to also take a step back on the mornings at the start where maybe things weren't going so well. And I said to her, if you can't take a step back, can you go out for a walk? Can you just remove yourself from the situation? Because I think a lot of the times we have a tendency to say, oh, this isn't working, I'll just do it myself. And because it's often quicker. But you have to resist that temptation, because things will never get taken off your plate if you keep doing that, and you need things to be taken off your plate. So when things go a bit haywire for a while, take a step back and just let it happen. Don't take things back. Don't take it back. Don't put it back on your plate. Because the thing is, when I think back to being a young mom, when I was first home with my little baby, I had no idea what I was doing, and I messed up so much, but nobody was there saying, oh, you're not doing that right, I'll take it back off your plate. I just had to figure it out. And so I got to a place where, I knew what worked, I knew what didn't, but oftentimes our husbands haven't had that chance. They haven't had a chance just to be alone and just figure it out. You're generally there, and you're generally better at all this stuff than he is. So it's very tempting for him to just say, well, you know what you're doing. We need to give them a chance to just try things out and just and mess up for a bit and have it be okay. And so with this particular husband, yeah, the school shirt situation was a bit of a mess for a week or 10 days, but actually it was the kids who kind of said to him, look, Dad, can you please be better with the shirts? And he did, and he was, and he's now completely managing the shirts. And the thing is that once you've abdicated one thing, once you've completely removed it from your brain, you know, you're not even looking whether the shirts are ragged. You're thinking, well, my husband's managing the shirts, so if he notices they're ragged, he has to order more. You know, this is all part of the conversation about talking about conceptualizing, planning, and execution. You know, telling him where the school shirts are, you know, which shop you buy them from, so that he knows where to get them from. So, you know, really think about something that you can abdicate completely. And once you've abdicated one thing completely, abdicate something else. You know, this is a whole journey, and a really important thing for you to think about. How can I make my load less and get my partner more involved in the everyday of our home life? So, as I said, this is all from my guide, How to Train Your Husband. It is a free guide. You can get it if you head to supermomdetox.com/freebies, or just go to supermomdetox.com and click on the freebies button. It's got some of the stuff about the conceptualizing, planning, and execution. It's also got, you know, tips on how to talk to your husband, specifically using your why, you know, to say, not kind of go into the conversation and say, you know, you need to do more and blah blah blah, but to kind of engage with, what is it that I need, like, why do I need your help with this? And for me, when my husband and I started on this journey, it was a case of, you know, I feel overwhelmed, I feel burnt out, I feel like I'm not the mom I want to be, because actually I just feel so frazzled, and I feel like I don't have any attention left to give to the kids, because I feel like my brain is overloaded. So just some tips on how to actually engage in these conversations, some more tips on what you could abdicate, and also a little bonus guide at the end on how to train your husband to take photos of you with your children. Because I don't know about you, but when I look back over the years and I look back through my photos, there are hardly any pictures of me with the kids, and it is my genuine worry that my kids will look back on their lives and they'll say, oh, mum was never there. And I'm like, I was there, I was just the one taking the photos. So yes, if you share that, there's a bonus guide at the back of my free guide on how to get your husbands to take photos of you with the kids. Thank you so much for listening. Here's some more videos you can have a look at if this one resonated with you. Thank you.